All right, welcome to the party, pals, GRC Mafia. Thank you guys for hopping in. I see both Jeffrey and B-Dubs popping in already. So right out the gate, we want to premise everything with we're here to break down barriers, foster collaboration and community, working towards a more secure future together. This is definitely a learning and growing environment for everybody. The industry is way too broad to learn it all, and that's where everybody's perspectives and experience comes in as well. Now, today we're going to go ahead and continue working through the CSF 2.0 assessment that we had started to gauge what our compliance is at this time. We were working on the non-compliant sections controls there. We're going to go ahead and continue that today as well. Now, if you would like to come up on stage, you're more than welcome to. I could definitely drop the link if you have a question or otherwise, or you want to come up. You do not have to turn on your video. Definitely ask questions. And then also the best place to share your social media, whether it be LinkedIn or otherwise, is inside of our Discord server. So I'm dropping the link for that right now. Join our Discord server, head on over to the live chat channel, and that's where you could post links to your social media profiles. That's one of the best aspects of this community, especially, is to network with everybody. Definitely ask questions along the way, even if it doesn't pertain to exactly what we're talking about. Worst case scenario, we could circle back around to that. And if you have any other topics or resources that you want to share, definitely drop those as well. If you do share something that you don't want to be public, definitely reach out to me on Discord or LinkedIn, or you can also contact me at contact@studygrc.org, and then we could get that part figured out for you. We also see like Bentech popping in, Ranya's popping in, and Bentech too, GRC Mafia. Definitely catch PBO tomorrow. So PBO will be going live Tuesday night. I believe if I remember correctly, it's about AWS config or AWS guard, I believe. One of the cloud, it looks like PBO may be doing a lab tomorrow, or at least talking more about one of the GRC tools in AWS. Regine, welcome to the party, pal, GRC Mafia. All right, and then also B-Dubs just dropped another article today. So every single Monday, B-Dubs is dropping an article that's related to cybersecurity, GRC, overlapping on her website, britwhite.io. Definitely check that out. Today was kind of in regards to like cybersecurity for the family and some of the different considerations and best practices with that. Get people thinking about that a little bit more. I think that's also a really good handout to be able to send to somebody that you know that maybe not in the information security industry, but you know, you could have been talking to them about, you know, setting up MFA or something like that, and you could forward that on over to them. Also, our website, of course, for the rest of the platforms that we stream to. Did I spell that right? Yes, perfect. I did spell that right. I didn't think I did at first. Where you can see the rest of the platforms that we have, and then also our calendar and our resources page. So we have pretty much everything scheduled out for next month. I highly recommend checking out the GRC Let's Get Technical. We're actually going to finally start digging into some of the more hands-on, actually setting up Next DNS or other DNS options for your devices, and then also setting up your own VPN in a cloud VM, for an example. We'll probably, I'm going to figure out some of the details for that, but we'll probably use either AWS or DigitalOcean for that VPN, for an example. And then also, don't forget about our giveaway. So if you are inside of our Discord server, you hop on over to our giveaways channel, and then all you have to do is just click a button to participate. We have 31 participants right now, and this is for a HIPAA Cow conference that's coming up on April 10th and 11th. So on Thursday, when our primary meeting starts at 6 p.m. Central Time, the bot is automatically going to draw somebody out of that, and then you're going to be given a ticket for that event on April 10th and 11th. They're going to be talking all kinds of different healthcare related things and HIPAA, including like HIPAA risk assessment and a tabletop related to that as well. Let's see here. Bam, let's go ahead and transition over here. How's everybody doing? It is Monday now. We're back to Monday, Tuesday Eve. Let's see. Bam. Let me go ahead and turn these names off. All right, GRC Mafia. And so you can see our CISO Assistant here. You guys should be a little bit more familiar with it at this point now. If you haven't already, you can also check out the video we had a few Fridays ago with one of the co-founders for CISO Assistant, where they walk through some of the installation setup for it. Now, we have been working inside of the compliance section here for this audit. They have it marked as audit. I just like to call it assessment. And we're just checking for compliance here. So this is what we have been working on so far. And we're going to go ahead and continue this one as well. So you could see we're down to 18.9% partially compliant. And then we have 72% non-compliant. And we're just working through these, adding additional details that we discover. So that way, then after we go through all of the controls again, we went through on the flash mode on the very first video where we just went through all 106 controls for 2.5 hours. And that kind of knocked out a large majority to get it categorized. Now we're going through and just looking at these to fill in the actual details and figure out, are we going to be doing these controls? And if we do, what do we need to become compliant with them? So, and also updating, is it to do, in progress? What are we working with? So let's take a look at where we're at here. And let me move this chat over. Let's see. Welcome, Cam. Yeah, good morning. I mean, it's technically 11:08 here, so I'm going to still say good morning. Bam. Yeah, Monday vibes. Tuesday Eve vibes is what it is. Let's see. Yeah, I hope everybody's starting the week out strong. And we'll go ahead and dig into this here in just a moment. All right. And so I'm double checking the detect function here. So you can see that we have this one marked as in progress. So I know that that's one that we've already covered. So we should be good on the detect. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the protect category. We also have this one marked as in progress. So users, services, and hardware are authenticated. We have that one marked as partially compliant. They do provide the examples for it. So I know that we did that one as well. So we're going to go ahead and move on up to identify. And then we have risk assessment here, which we have a couple here. Both of those are in progress. So I know that we covered those as well. Vulnerabilities and assets are identified, validated, and recorded. I remember talking about that one too. So let's go ahead and take a look at asset management here. So asset management, this one we have marked as to do. Inventories of services provided by suppliers are maintained. All right. I am sorry. I am not going to be able to pronounce your name without you saying it out loud. Do you have a nickname that you go by chance? GRC Mafia. If you've been around for a moment, you definitely realize that I'm horrible with names in the first place. I do make an attempt though. And then also Cam mentions only started building with CISO Assistant, but whoa, this tool is incredible. Yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons why we're using it, but then also want to kind of spread the word about it as well, because this really opens the door for small and medium businesses, especially who don't have that much budget to get an idea of what they should be doing and also managing their program better. So there's all kinds of different stuff in here that we haven't even touched on yet. Over time, we will definitely dig into this tool more, but yes, it is a very powerful tool. And one of the other key aspects too is even if you're not sure, this is still a great starting point, because this is also very similar to other tools that you may use in industry as well. So it's just a free alternative. All right, let's see. All right, so we're looking at AM04. So identify, asset management 04. Inventories of services provided by suppliers are maintained. So some of the different examples here is inventory all external services used by the organization, including third-party infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service offerings, APIs, and other externally hosted application services. Example 2 is update the inventory when a new external service is going to be utilized to ensure adequate cybersecurity risk management monitoring of the organization's use of that service. And this is a form of third-party risk is what it states down here at the bottom. Now, if you remember, we did go through and we added third parties in here. We do still need to add some more details in there as well. But so this is probably going to still be a partially compliant because we need to go through and confirm that we have everything in there. And also, I'll actually hop over there in just a moment. But so this is AM04. And so our third parties here, we went through and listed them in here on the entities. But for an example, we do still need to go through and add the solutions. And so in CISO Assistant, one of the things I really like is that we have our list of entities here. So like Restream and Discord and YouTube, Riverside, LinkedIn, X, all of these different platforms that we utilize and third parties that we work with. But then also we have a solution section. So you could see here that we also use Proton for an example. And so we need to continue building this out and add the rest of the solutions and connect them to which provider it's associated with. And then you also see that we have a rating here on like how important is that for our business. So although we do have this implemented, we need to further that and get it completely filled out as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and hop back over here to where we were at. So we were under identify, and then I got to add this filter again. For partially compliant is what we're working through. So AM04 is what we were just talking about. I'm going to go ahead and open that up now. And then I'm going to put this as in progress. I'm going to put system is currently implemented. Although maybe currently available, currently in place, although no formal policies and procedures exist. So we need to develop some type of strategy there where, oh, when we go to onboard somebody, acquisition or otherwise, then we need to add those into that section for our third parties. And then also we need to have some type of review process for this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that as partially compliant, in progress, because again, it's not done and we're not fully compliant technically at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that and save it. And then I'm going to go ahead and fix this filter again. And so that saves us for the identify section for asset management. Now we're going to go move into govern. And then after this, so we're only 14 minutes in. So I kind of feel like we should be able to work through this maybe. And then we may be able to touch on some of these non-compliant sections. So under govern, we have the cybersecurity supply chain risk management section. So govern supply chain 06. Planning and due diligence are performed to reduce risk before entering into formal supplier or other third-party relationships. Now, that's a pretty important control. So perform thorough due diligence on prospective suppliers that is consistent with procurement planning and commensurate with level of risk, criticality, complexity in each supplier relationship. Assess the stability of the technology and cybersecurity capabilities and the risk management practices. So this is really just doing with due diligence. When we go to add another third party on, we need to make sure that we take a look at it and see what are the risks before we enter, before we formally start utilizing them, before we actually have a relationship with them. Let's see here. And then I see Jason pops up in chat there, but I don't see, it just shows a blank message for me. Oh, now it shows the emojis. It just loaded slow there. Welcome to the party, pal, Jason. GRC Mafia. All right, so this is a really important one. This is one where, again, we don't have policies put in place at this time. So this is going to be part of our policy for this. And then we do need to have some type of process where these third parties and platforms and so forth that we work with are vetted prior. So we go through, we look at their agreements, their policies, what type of cybersecurity program or security. A lot of these bigger companies, especially, they have like a security page that state, oh, you know, we go through and we have SOC 2, we go through and we comply with, you know, 853 or ISO 27K or whatever it is. And so before we onboard these third parties, we got to at least take a look at that and consider what some of the different risks are and so forth before we actually go into that relationship with them. So I'm going to mark this one as in progress as well. This one I'm going to go ahead and mark as not compliant. And the reason being is because at this time we have no policy or procedures for this. So we need to implement that, but then also we need to go back through our existing third parties and conduct these assessments for due diligence. But then also we need to implement those for new ones as well. So no formal documentation exists for policies or procedures existing platforms need to be assessed or reviewed, need to be reviewed. And so not compliant, in progress, save. And we're going to go back through all of this stuff too and add evidence and related controls and so forth as well. So this is just the stage where we're going back through. We did our flash mode. Now we're going back through adding additional details and going more fine grain on categorizing everything. And then we'll be going back through everything once again in order to start implementing those and get, basically a POAM put together on, within the next 30 days, we're going to have this. Within the next 60 days, we're going to have this and so forth. Let's see here. And so that was 06. I got to add this filter at the top again too. All right, so now we're under govern supply chain 04. Suppliers are known and prioritized by criticality. So develop criteria for suppliers based on, for example, the sensitivity of data processed and possessed. This is a really important one. This is going to coincide exactly straight with the exact one that we just did a moment ago too, with the policies and procedures. And this dictates that we need to actually look at the sensitivity of data that's processed by those third parties. So, and the importance of the products or services to the organization's mission. So if you remember when I was on that third party page inside of CISO Assistant, there was a rating there from 1 to 5, which is supposed to be like how important is that particular service or solution to the business, to the organization's mission. Also keep a record of all suppliers and prioritize suppliers based on criticality criteria. So this is another one where it's going to be partially compliant because we do have some of that, but it's not completely in progress. And then also another thing too is that we need to make sure that we have a formal process. So no formal documentation exists, which we know that this is going to be a large majority of these different controls because as of right now, Study GRC does not have these policies and procedures. So we're not expecting to rank very high in these. And a lot of this is going to be similar on no formal documentation exists, although a system is available. An informal process is available. That's what I'll go ahead and mark for now. In progress, partially compliant. I'm marking partially compliant because we do have our third parties in the system already, and we did start ranking them, but it's still in progress because we haven't completed that yet. All right, now I'm going to apply the filter again. And if you guys have any other questions or resources that you want to drop or otherwise, definitely drop those. Even if the question doesn't pertain to what we're talking about, worst case scenario, we circle back around to that. Let's see here. All right, and so we just did 04 for supply chain here. So the next one here is cybersecurity supply chain risk management is integrated into cybersecurity and enterprise risk management, risk assessment and improvement processes. And then they have some of these different examples here too. Double check this. I could probably zoom in a little bit more too. So one of the examples here is identify areas of alignment and overlap with cybersecurity and risk management, enterprise risk management, ERM for enterprise risk management. Example 2 is establish integrated control sets for cybersecurity risk management and cybersecurity supply chain risk management. Example 3, welcome to the party, pal, Brexy, GRC Mafia. Example 3, integrate cybersecurity supply chain risk management into improvement processes. Example 4, escalate material cybersecurity risks in supply chain to senior management and address them at the enterprise risk management level. So we don't have a enterprise risk management at this time, but this is what we're also working towards. So we definitely want to make sure that we cover everything for our supply chain, our platforms, our third parties. This is also talking about how it needs to be involved with risk assessment and improvement processes as well. So this is going to be another one where we go through and try to knock that out as well. So I'm going to mark that as in progress, and I'm going to go ahead and mark this as not compliant because we have nothing on that at this time, and we have no policies at all. So I'm actually marking this one as not compliant. So so no formal documentation exists. Although this is something that we are going to try to implement. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Oh, and on this next one, I'll show you what I was meaning by the rest of the, what we have planned for the rest of this as well. All right, so we went through 04, we went through supply chain for our partially compliant. Now we're going to go through on roles, responsibilities, and authorities. So governance, roles, responsibilities, and authorities. We'll go ahead and start on 02 down here. So GVRR-02. And this one dictates roles, responsibilities, and authorities related to cybersecurity risk management are established, communicated, understood, and enforced. This is a really important one as well. So we need to understand what people's jobs are, what their responsibility, who's in charge of this, and then also, you know, who has the authority. So who's signing off on a lot of this different stuff as well. And that everything's understood and enforced. What good is it to have policies and procedures and all of this different stuff if there's no enforcement? We're not trying to checkbox this here, is another addition that I'm going to add in there. And again, I hope everybody's having a great Monday. Welcome to the party, pals, GRC Mafia. Also, congratulations to Brexy for the new role. So I saw that over the weekend and I finally got around to replying to it. But yeah, congratulations. Brexy's just got a offer letter, is my understanding. Coming in like a wrecking ball. All right, so on this one here, some of the examples. Example 1, document risk management rules and responsibilities and policy. That's something that we really, really need to do. So that could be outlined. There's a couple different policies that could be implemented into. More than likely, this is going to fall into, since we are small, I'm trying to keep our policies to a minimum. We don't need 100 different policies for a small nonprofit. However, we could probably smash this into like our information security policy is probably where that's going to be thrown into for our risk management cybersecurity program. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this open. One of the things I wanted to mention here is when you open up one of these controls, you get the actual wording at the very top. You get some of the different information and where it's located inside of that library that you have installed. And then you have applied controls. So later on, what we're going to do is we're actually going to add evidence, supporting evidence that showcases that, yes, this is compliant, or no, this is not compliant, or otherwise. We also have our exemptions as well that we can apply to some of these. You know, this could also be coinciding with, you know, we need sign off in order to not do this or otherwise. And then also, so the applied controls is where we're going to actually add like, okay, this is what we've done. So evidence is linked to the selected measures will be automatically associated with the requirement. And so this one here, I'm going to go ahead and mark as in progress. This one, I'm actually not going to mark this as, I'm going to mark this as not compliant because we do not have a roles and responsibilities policy at all. No formal documentation exists. And I likely marked this as partially compliant previously because, like, as a small business, we understand on who does what to an extent, but we have no formal documentation. Even though there's 5 of us, so it's myself and 4 other members on the board itself for Study GRC, and we have a CISO, we have a CTO, we have a CFO, we have the director of generosity as well, but we don't have like any actual documentation dictating like, oh, this is who you go to for this or this is for that. And we really need to have that. So no formal documentation exists, not compliant, in progress. Yeah, that's really exciting, Brexy. And that sounds like a really awesome role too. So bam. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and push through more. So partially compliant. We were under roles and responsibilities here. That last one we marked as not compliant, so it disappeared. We have RRO1 for this next one. So organizational leadership is responsible and accountable for cybersecurity risk and fosters a culture that is risk aware, ethical, and continually improving. Now, this is another one where we need to have that in policy as well. You could see here leaders. Example 1 is leaders, such as directors, agree to on their roles and responsibilities in developing, implementing, and assessing the organization's cybersecurity strategy. Example 2 is share leaders. Expectations regarding a secure and ethical culture, especially when current events present the opportunity to highlight positive or negative examples of cybersecurity risk management. Example 3, leaders direct the CISO to maintain a comprehensive cybersecurity risk strategy and review and update it at least annually and after major events. So all of this is definitely applicable to Study GRC. And this is another really important one that, this is not something you should be tailoring out at all. That I really truly believe that the security culture of an organization really matters. And it's not even just security culture, it's just the mindset. So there's the security mindset within the organization for the culture, but it goes way beyond that as well, because you want, ideally, from my perspective, in my opinion, you also want people to realize that, yes, you can speak up, you can provide your recommendations and so forth. You know, let's do this together kind of thing. And not as, oh, one department against another department kind of thing. Creating silos. You want to break down those silos, break down those barriers, and so forth. I'm not going to go through it today, but a really interesting thing to research in regards to organizational structure is go look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, who does the graphic cards and chips and so forth, go check out and research how their organization is structured. It's very interesting. Welcome to the party, pal. Cool Breeze. Just knocking through some of these, some more of the CSF 2.0 assessment to see where we fall at this time. I don't remember which video this is. I think this may be step 3. Let's see here. I don't even recall offhand. Yeah, so part 3. Wow, I did remember that. Bam. That's awesome. All right, and so now on this one here for the leadership for the culture that's risk aware, ethical, and continually improving, we're going to go ahead and mark this one as well as in progress. I'm going to go ahead and mark this as partially compliant because I feel like there is a pretty good understanding already, although we still need policies and so forth on this. So no formal documentation exists at this time. I'm just going to change it up a little bit. Bam. So we got that one knocked out now. All right, so we're under govern. We were under rules, responsibilities, authorities. We still have that O1 there because we have that one as partially compliant because that's one of the benefits with Study GRC, at least, is every one of our board members works or has experience, education, and so forth in information security. And so it's of the same mindset of company culture. So really awesome. And also on that note, we're going to go ahead and move into risk management strategy for RM, moving our way up the chain here. And we're busting through these partially compliant ones. But then also on April 3rd, so not this Thursday, but next Thursday on April 3rd for our Thursday meeting, Evan, which is our the Steady GRC CISO, he will be presenting about like how you can learn and grow within cybersecurity, information security on a budget. So I believe the title for it, Cybersecurity on a Shoestring, is one of the clickbait titles for it. So definitely check that out on April 3rd. All right, let's see here. All right, so risk management 07. So strategic opportunities, positive risks, are categorized and are included in organizational cybersecurity risk discussions. Now, this is something that you may not think about as often or otherwise. However, yeah, so there's negative risk, of course. There's things that can have a negative effect, but there's also a level of positive risk as well. And so positive risk would typically be identified as like something where, yeah, we have a risk, like trying to think of an example. So like if you're releasing a product, okay, well, if we're releasing a product, well, we have to drop $5 million into releasing this launch. But the positive risk of that is, you know, there's still a pros and cons. There's still a positive factor involved. Let's see. So are categorized and are included. So we need to make sure that the positive risks are also included. And so an interesting thing with that too is that that's something we can also include into like our risk register as well. Okay, SK is way easier for me. I do appreciate that. So some can me, or simply SK. All right. I will make an attempt. GRC Mafia. Welcome to the party, pal. Yalamed. See, I'm trying to make an attempt. GRC Mafia. All right, Yalamed. Over time, it's only going to get better, hopefully. Asranya. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this one open here. We're going to go ahead and scroll down. So this is another one where we need to definitely take this into consideration. I'm going to mark this as in progress, and I'm going to mark this as not compliant. And the reason I'm going to is because at this time, we're not documenting the positive forms of risk either. So not currently. Well, it says categorized, but not currently tracking positive forms of risk to the organization. Bam, not compliant in progress. Yeah, and like B-Dub says is progress equals progress. Keep taking those baby steps. Attempts are being made for sure. Yeah, attempts. I'm trying. All right. So we're back here. We're going to go ahead and keep going through the partially compliant. And then we were under risk management here. And so if we see here, so we did roles and responsibilities. All right, so now risk management 06, a standardized method for calculating, documenting, categorizing, and prioritizing cybersecurity risks is established and communicated. So like it shows here in example 1 is, are we using qualitative or quantitative approach? Additionally, like example 2 says, create and use templates, a risk register to document cybersecurity risk information. Are we doing a risk register? Are we working off of exposure or, you know, ownership? Are we documenting like who owns that form of risk? Example 3, establish criteria for risk prioritization. So how are we ranking these forms of risk? You know, how do we prioritize that? We need to have that documented. And like it states here, is a standardized method. So we need to just have something listed out. And so if you watched our risk register videos, you could see that we were running off of the 830 and the 37. So I believe it's the 837 is the one that actually has it listed in there on the likelihood and impact ratings. And on that spreadsheet, including on the template itself, it actually has the citations from the 837 showcasing like, oh, okay, a 1 is going to be, you know, this many times a year. A 2 is going to be this many times a year, or this type of outcome is what would be expected from that type of rating, which creates some form of standardization. And so this could be as simple as us going through and saying, hey, we're going to follow a qualitative approach, and we're going to have the risk register where we're going to outline the exposure, mitigations, ownership, risk description, and we're going to be utilizing and going off of the NIST 837 for those statements. So that methodology from the 837. So, and then we need to also go through and figure out that prioritization. So then we literally just list out like, oh, we're going to work from the highest rating down. So use a consistent list of risk categories as well is another example. And so those are just examples as well to give you an idea of what they mean by this. And there's more documentation that you could look at on the NIST website as well that goes through and explains these and breaks it down even further. That's one of the best things I love about the 853 actually is they have the 853A, which you could map from the CSF 2.0 as well. And they provide a really amazing breakdown. Unfortunately, I don't believe CSF has something as detailed as the 853A. So this one we're going to mark as in progress. So calculating, documenting, categorizing. So we don't have anything formally outlined or otherwise. I'm going to mark this as partially compliant because no formal processes. So no formal processes currently exist. Although existing register follows 837. Policies need to be implemented. Policies need to be implemented for documentation and procedures. Bam. So in progress, partially compliant. I'm still marking partially compliant because we're still following it, but we have no formal policy for that. Let's see. Welcome to the Party Pal 8-bit. No worries. That's one benefit of this being recorded as well. Yeah, and PBO's over there, 853. I mean, it has its pros and cons. One of the best things that, like I said, about the 53 is I love the fact that you can, if you just look out there, pretty much everything can be mapped back to the 853 and they go in great detail. There's amazing supporting documents for the 53. And like the 837 is the risk management framework from NIST. And that's actually the RMF, technically, from my understanding. And then the 53 is the list of controls itself. So let's see here. All right, so we went through the risk management section. I went ahead and fixed the filter there. So this next one here, risk appetite and risk tolerance statements are established, communicated, and maintained. Another really important one. Now, we do technically have a draft for a system security plan or system security policy, SSP, but we are working on our policies. That's what we're going to be reviewing to access next month, I would say. We're looking at about 26 policies, roughly, give or take, that we're going to review next month. That's going to also include our information security policy, which is likely where we're going to actually outline what our risk appetite and tolerances are. And so we have an idea for it, but we don't have this documented. So this is going to be another one where this should be not compliant because we don't have these statements. It's talking about statements are established and communicated and maintained. We don't currently have that at this time. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that one open. All right. So I'm going to mark this one as in progress, not compliant. So no formal statements currently exist. Policy needs to be established. All right, let's see. Bam. Yeah, great to see you popping into 8-bit. Yeah, and so we're about 42 minutes in roughly. So it looks like we should be able to knock these ones out here. So we just went through, let me add this filter again here to get an idea where we're at. So we were working through our risk management strategy section. We've completed that. Now we're going to move into governance, organizational context. And this is one of the things I love about NIST is like, I mean, they're providing all of the information here. This is all copied and pasted from the NIST documents. So they make it pretty straightforward in my opinion. And even if you're not sure about a particular control, they provide the examples themselves, but then also there's tons of information you can look out there, or just drop it in the Discord and be like, hey, I don't quite understand this. You know, what the hell could I do about it? So organizational context 05. Outcomes, capabilities, and services that the organization depends on are understood and communicated. So an example of this would be to create an inventory of the organization's dependencies on external resources, facilities, cloud-based hosting providers, and their relationships to organizational assets and business functions. So that's pretty much what we've been doing with our third-party section on CISO Assistant already, is listing out what solutions that they provide to us from each third party, and then actually lining out like what is the importance, what do they provide, and why do they matter? You know, what happens if, you know, Restream just gets, you know, shut down one day, banned in the US, or whatever happens. Then, you know, we would have at least somewhat of an idea. And that's also where we could start implementing some of that stuff into our incident response as well. And that's one reason why you want to have that as well, because then as we progress through, then we could have, you know, different backups, and we can have playbooks on like, oh, if Restream's not working, then what do we do? Okay, well, as of right now, technically what we would do is hop onto Google Meet or Discord and stream it. So like, you know, figuring out those different strategies, and that's why doing this stuff is important. Let's see. So potential points of failure for the organization's capabilities and services. So yeah, this is another one that's really important. So this one's going to be in progress. I marked this as partially compliant, but I'm going to do non-compliant because we don't have this at this time. So although we're working towards that, we do not have this implemented at all, really. So although we need to actually outline everything that these third parties are providing us, and we need to understand what their priorities are, and we need to make sure that that's easy to find as well, communicated through. So not compliant, no documentation exists. In progress, not compliant. Bam. All right. Let's apply this filter again. Organizational context. So this next one is 04. So critical objectives, capabilities, and services that stakeholders depend on or expect from the organization are understood and communicated. And this has examples for first and third party risk. Example 1 is going to be establish criteria for determining the criticality of capabilities and services as viewed by internal and external stakeholders. Example 2 is going to be determine assets and business operations that are vital to achieving mission objectives and the potential impact of loss. So this really closely coincides with that previous one as well, but it seems like it goes into a little bit more detail. So critical objectives. So this is more along the lines of like what actually matters to the business is what it seems to be. So establish and communicate resilience objectives, recovery time objectives, RTO, for delivering critical capabilities and services in various operating states under attack, during recovery, normal operation. So this is where we need to figure out like what is the priority of our objectives and our capabilities and such, along with the services. So this is where it has some overlap with that previous one. But this is another one that's important and we do not currently have. So I'm going to mark this one as well as not compliant. So no formal documentation or processes exist. Bam. Yes, that is correct. Lamed. So I am still using CISO Assistant here. We did have a walkthrough recently where one of the co-founders showcases how you can set up CISO Assistant as well. If you have any questions related to it, definitely reach out on Discord or otherwise. They also have their own Discord server as well for support too, especially if we're not able to help. But yes, as of right now, we're still going through and utilizing CISO Assistant. It really just makes sense in the long run. It's very similar to other tools that you're going to find out there in the industry. And nonetheless, it's free and open source. So, bam. And you could see how this could also be done inside of an Excel sheet, for an example. But you get all kinds of additional things. That's why GRC tools are so common, is because you have all of these other benefits that coincide with it that you can't really do inside of an Excel spreadsheet. All right, and I got the partially compliant listed out here. So now we're going to move on to organizational context 02. So internal and external stakeholders are understood and their needs and expectations regarding cybersecurity risk management are understood and considered. I find it interesting that NIST is using the word considered in regards to risk management for their, what their needs are considered. Let's see here. So first party risk, third party risk. Example one is going to be to identify relevant internal stakeholders and their cybersecurity related expectations, such as performance and risk of officers, directors, and advisors, cultural employees. Okay. Identify. Oh, snap. Hold on. I'm just over here, dropping my phone now. Let's see. So internal and external stakeholders are understood and their needs regarding cybersecurity risk management are understood and considered. There seems like there's still quite a bit of overlap with a lot of this, but that's what goes into more detail for this. So this is another one we're going to have to do in progress, not compliant, because the problem is that thankfully we don't technically have external stakeholders yeah. Yeah, this one's a little bit different too. I'm trying to think from a study GRC standpoint, but I'm still going to mark this as not compliant because we don't have documentation on this. Does not exist. Welcome to the Party Pal Cyber Cycle. Yeah, I hope everybody's having a good Monday. Tuesday Eve, as we call it. Communication needs to be established. All right. All right, and then let's go ahead and apply this filter again. Yes, and like Josh says, welcome to the week. All right, so we're underneath organizational context here. So the organization's mission is understood and informed cybersecurity risk management. This is usually where most people end up starting, is OCO1. So is our mission understood? Do we know what we're doing? What our objectives are? And then also, are we utilizing, are we basing our objectives with cybersecurity risk management? So informs cybersecurity risk management. So this is very important. So we need to understand the business objectives, what the mission actually is, in order to actually utilize and implement cybersecurity risk management. So I've heard about people going into an environment and they're just like, oh, let's just, implement all of this. And they don't take the business objectives, the actual mission, what the business is actually trying to accomplish into context, like into that decision making. And that is a huge issue because you can't just go in and, oh, we're just going to do all of this, CIS IG2 or whatever it is. You need to understand what the business actually does and what its goals are. And then also some businesses, like most of this, they're going to be like, oh, we know that we have to be compliant with this, or we have to do this in order to get this contract or work with these people. And so that's the business objective is, okay, if we want to, be get this government contract, we have to have CMMC level 1. So how do we get there? And what do we have to do that? So yeah, I was going to state that, Josh, but from a technical standpoint, yeah, for all practical intents and purposes, yeah, you have a point there that the external stakeholders is the community itself. But hopefully one day that's more truth than not. Because like one of the things that we may look at in the future is actually having official membership shareholder. So that's something that we may be interested in the future. So how like there's those professional organizations out there and so forth, and that could be what it moves towards, which is also where, like you can compare it to unionized or otherwise, where you have voting rights and all kinds of other stuff. There's a lot of different options, which would make that more true. But yes, I definitely see where you're coming from. And bam. So this one is also going to be one where we're going to go ahead and mark that as in progress. I'm going to go ahead and mark this as partially compliant because thankfully we do have this in mind, but we need to form documentation. So documentation needs to be made. Bam. All right. And then that should suffice for those ones. So let me go ahead and take a look here. Yeah, and B-Dub says, dang, I'm glad we're all getting in this early. It's definitely something that I've looked at, which also reminds me, one of the other videos that I need to outline and get scheduled for next month is Q2 State of Study GRC. So I got to get that listed out for next month as well. All right, so now we've gone through, now you can see we're down to 11.3% partially compliant now, and then we're up to 75.5% on non-compliant. So we've definitely gone through some of this. We did go through on the compliant, I believe, the not applicable, and then also the partially compliant. So now we got to go through this big chunk here of not compliant, including we would skip over the different sections that we've already gone through, which like I have all of these already addressed here. But so if I change this filter around to not compliant, now it's only showing the not compliant sections. And so for an example, at the very bottom here, we have 88% not compliant. And you could see here that we have 7 to do, 10 to do, 8 to do, and so forth. And so if we open this recover section up, you could see here in progress, 1 to do, which means we haven't addressed this yet, not compliant. And so we would open this up. And so public updates on incident recovery are shared using approved methods and messaging. That's a really good one. So that would be So the interesting thing with this particular control is this could coincide directly into our incident response. Well, this isn't talking about incident response though. This is incident recovery. So this would probably coincide with that. However, inside of the recovery stage itself, and then this would most likely be listed out in our communications policy. So Cybercycle, I'm totally compliant with non-compliance, says the one who drove 300 miles on a motorcycle this weekend. All right, so let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this one out real quick. So this one is a pretty straightforward one. So that just means that we have something for approved methods and messaging for incident recovery. So how do we make public updates on that? So if we get breached, if we have an incident, how is that communicated? We need to have those methods implemented as well. And so I'm going to mark that as in progress. Policy needs to be developed, and this included. Just basically rewording what we've been typing most of this time, and that is currently not compliant still. So this is where we're going through, and you could see, oh, okay, we have this one as in progress. So if I go ahead and take all of these off and just have not compliant, you'll see some of this stuff. So we just did this 04 one. Now I'm going to move over to incident recovery plan. All of those are marked as to do actually. So you could see right here. So incident management, for an example, it says one in progress. Oh, here it is. So incident recovery. So you could see this one's marked as in progress, which means that we've already reviewed it. What we're doing is we're filtering out to not compliant, and then we're going over the ones that are marked as to do. So that way, then we can categorize that on what the status is. Are we even going to do it? And then we are coming to the end of this session. So we are keeping these to about an hour. If you guys have any questions or otherwise, definitely drop those in chat. Also, our Discord server is an awesome place outside of the streams itself. I'm dropping the link to that as well. And don't forget about that giveaway that's automatically handed out at our last Thursday of every single month as well. So I'm just going to hang out here for a moment, and then starting tomorrow, so tomorrow we'll go ahead and continue this as well, and we'll push through these not compliant ones. And so what we have lined up is that, so today we work through those partially compliant. Tomorrow, Monday and Tuesdays, we work on this. We're going to go ahead and knock through those non-compliant. And then also next Monday, we're going to do that as well. And then on the 1st, so April 1st, is marked as our finalization for this. And so that's where we're going to hopefully at that time be knocked through the majority of that. And then we're going to start developing those POAM. And I may have to schedule a special video maybe over the weekend or something like that, where, okay, we've gone through this and everything else, because I want to stream as much of this as possible. So by the 1st, we should have this pretty much figured out at that point. And then we may have to add on one additional video, or maybe on the 1st, we'll just push to like a 2-hour mark or something to start listing out like what our strategy is moving forward with it based on what we've gone through. Let's see. Yes. So PBO, yes, you can. So where is it at here? So overview. So they do have my assignments here, and they have a calendar in here somewhere too. So timeline overview. Yeah, so right here you can go through, and they are working on implementing some type of sync feature with either Outlook or Google Calendar as well. That's one of the different pieces of suggestions that they've received. But they do have assigning tasks and then also recurring things in here as well. So then you can, they also have a whole section here, not only for the controls, but like you actually state a reminder in CISO Assistant to review those annually. They do have that type of thing set up as well, is my understanding. And so not only the time view, and so eventually we'll have the timeline in here, but also for their policies as well, which is under governance here. So governance, policies, and then we can go through and actually list out the ETA here. I believe that's where that falls under. So that way then it also tells us like how often we need to go through and do that. And I'll throw it onto our details. So yeah, definitely a lot of stuff in here. I mean, hell, like look at this. They even have follow-up in here, all kinds of different stuff. Like they have, and this is under active development. It really is a great tool, especially for small and medium business, but even in enterprise, I could see running this software, and it's only getting better. So I went ahead and dropped the links to CISO Assistant if you guys would like to check it out. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here in just a moment. GRC Mafia. Oh yeah, and also CyberCycle mentions the merch shop. So I believe this is the command for merch. I did go through and we went with a different provider for the merch shop. Definitely check that out. Let us know. I'm hoping to spend some more time on making some better designs and so forth. Like one of the different designs that I am working with is like a thermos that has I Heart NIST on it. And then I'm trying to figure out like the graphics to list out like the most common or some of the big highlights for the publications. So if you guys have ideas or requests for that, definitely reach out. That's going to be something on the back burner as well. Let's see. Yeah, and thanks for the feedback too, Josh. Yeah, and we definitely want to hear like what do you guys want to see? Oh, hey there, Space Tacos. Welcome to the party, pal. You were probably lurking this whole time. Space Tacos also has a command as well. So explanation mark tacos for her website, and then also her Discord server, the GRC Audit Treasure Trove. And yeah, Cam, GRC Mafia. And if you guys have any particular questions, definitely let me know. Check out the calendar on the Study GRC website because I did go through and publish those videos scheduled for next month. And like we're going to be doing some deep dives on policy. So we're going to have drafts developed, and I'm trying, what the plan is, I talked a little bit about before, is reviewing 4 or 5 different policies per hour. So each Monday and Tuesday, we're going to stream for about an hour. And I want to spend about 10 minutes per policy going through on, okay, this is the draft we have. This is some of the reasoning on why we have this drafted like this. And then now from this point, we have this in a draft form. Now we need to submit this to the board for review and approval to actually get that enforced. So, and we have about 26 policies roughly. We're still working on the total amount that we're going to spread out across each Monday and Tuesday next month. So GRC Mafia. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'll catch you guys in Discord. See you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great rest of your Monday, and let's kill it. So yeah, Lame says that the link for CISO Assistant's having an issue. It may be based on the platform itself. I could go ahead and try to drop the link directly as well. So go ahead and try that link real quick, Yalamed. So that link should work. Oh, I see what messed up. Okay. So the command that we have for CISO Assistant, I need to fix. That's what we need to do. All right. Awesome. I'll go ahead and fix that right after this stream here. But so that link that I just dropped in chat, Yalamed, should work. And that goes to the GitHub page. And then I can go ahead and drop this other link real quick too, because CISO Assistant also went through and the co-founder did a video for us walking through how you can actually set that up. So let's go ahead and copy this on over. So I would also check out this video here, which is the self-host CISO Assistant. And then there's also this other link that I'm going to drop as well, where CISO Assistant also did another live stream with us showcasing the product itself. So those are 2 of the different CISO Assistant videos that we have with their co-founder about it. So definitely check out those other links as well. And then I'll fix that command for CISO Assistant here in just a moment. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off now. I'll go ahead and catch you guys in Discord. You guys have a great rest of your Monday. Let's go ahead and you know, finish off the week strong. Like, it's only Monday, but, you know, it's Tuesday Eve. So GRC